Uh, my name is Margaret Ann Windsor. I'm showing these pictures here. Let me show them. This is my father, the real King Edward VIII. This is my Uncle George, who became the illegal monarch, George V, in 1939 with Roosevelt planning my kidnapping. That's the year I was born. My father never married Wallace Simpson. He was that's an imposter with Wallace Simpson. This is the Kennedys. Her father or grandfather was ambassador to England in 36 and 46 when they took down my father illegally, and the Americans installed George VI and Elizabeth, and they're illegal. My mom is Claudia Ruth O'Keefe. Georgia O'Keefe's my aunt, and I'm showing this because I was flown up to Larry Flint's during a political campaign in October of twice in October of '83, and he did an editorial in April of '84. Now, in '83, this article is really telling about that, and that I know who was responsible for his shooting is when I ran for U.S. Congress against Larry McDonald, the U.S. Congressman and doctor, that I'd written about in the medical malpractice about mind control in '77, '78. This is just this is later. I told about that and had antifreeze put in me and should have died in April Fool's Day of '80. And this is in a book that was printed later, but I believe Tex Mars. It's Project Lucid, and it's called Implantable Biochips. And this is Timothy McVeigh. And by the way, it's not just his word, where and nobody seems to listen to, where the military put a chip up him. He fits into the patterns. And this is William. He's not the monarch, but down here it says that Buckingham Palace spokesman said that young William, and he's not heir to the throne, had a microchip implanted somewhere in his anatomy to discourage would-be kidnappers. I thought that was cute, since his great-grandfather that he named his newborn baby George after was the one that kidnapped me. The New World Order kidnapped me, the Rockefellers, the Kennedys, etc., and stole the crown. And they're afraid of him being kidnapped. By the way, I'm not the British citizens as a whole had nothing to do with this crap. They really didn't. They've been there when they and Germans and some Americans when nobody else did through this 75 years of horror, the journey I've done. My sons are Mark and Scott. And that's Mark, and it's old pictures, and that's Scott. Now then, and I think I showed you my father, but what I'm doing this tape, I wanted to show you the connection to the patterns. Now, this portrait was done of my father. It's one of the few that you'll find. I mean, they used a double, brought a double in, kidnapped me, and stole my father's identity. And nothing's been cleared up. But this King Edward VIII by Frank Salisbury. Salisbury fits into a murder that happened with Brian Nichols in Atlanta. He was in Fulton County, and he seemed to be he was a black man, and he seemed to be nice. He didn't have a rap sheet or anything, but he came out and suddenly started shooting. He shot a deputy sheriff, he shot the judge, and I think both of them died. There was about 3 or 4 died or was shot. He went out and killed a custom officer who, I don't know why he was out there. I believe it was in Cobb County that Nichols ended up. But the custom officer was headed to his home in Salisbury, which is the name used here. And then Nichols has to do with, not just Terry Nichols of the Oklahoma City bombing, it has to do with a person who was a black lady over agriculture, the forestry here, which Bob Goodlatte was over at the time, the U.S. Senator, who's now over the Judiciary Committee. These people all know this. But anyway, there's no way I can tell totally how you connect the patterns, how it fits like a puzzle, other than to show you this way. I want to tell this, and then I'm going to stop, because you can't really make it make sense here. Okay, let's put it this way. I don't think I've said this on this tape. I ended up across the state line after the antifreeze was put in, being forced to go back to Huntsville, Alabama. That's where NASA, that's where you had a lot. Werner von Braun was brought in, and I'm sure my kidnapping and the Brits and the Germans helped build the whole place, and America has claimed it's theirs. They kidnapped me. I'm a hostage still. In plain sight, I'm a hostage at 75 years old. Oh, they even named Cape Canaveral Kennedy Space Flight Center. But I'm trying to get across a bit about NASA and make some sense. I was taken across the state line. By the way, when they kidnapped me, they took me to Moulton, Alabama. That's 40 miles from Huntsville, and NASA started there, and the Redstone Arsenal Army base and the command center. And that started really going in early 50s, so there you go. This is a murder that happened in Tucson, and I'm just going to show that. And that's Gabby Gifford, and her husband is Mark. He's a twin, and Scott's a twin. They're both astronauts. Their last name's Kelly. Now, the connection there is the names, Mark and Scott. That's my son's names, and it's been used a lot in the patterns and mind control murders. Kathy, I keep saying that, it's Gabby Gifford, is or was a U.S. Congresswoman. She was actually elected. I just was a candidate to replace the doctor, Congressman Larry McDonald, I'd written about in the medical malpractice book when his plane was shot down. It was a passenger KAL plane in '83. So that's the association there. I ran for Congress, but she is a congresswoman. The twins, they gave me the name of a twin, Peggy Dempsey, when they kidnapped me and brought me to Moulton, Alabama. Now then, here is James Holmes of the Aurora shootings and Century 16 Theater. If you can see it. But they're under called mentally ill, insane, everything, and being given psychotic drugs when they've simply, if you want to call it simply, been programmed under mind control. They're as big a victim as anybody. And this is, and mind control has nothing to do with mental illness. Mental illness is being blamed, and the victims are being given psychotic drugs, and therefore they're discredited. And by the way, I want to throw one in here, if I can think of her name, Amy Bishop. I don't know, I may not have liked her anyway, but the point being is that in late 2010, I believe, about that time, give or take a few months, she was professor at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. Now, she walks in one day and she shoots three of her fellow, I